Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 63rd episode of Visioncon Live, your go-to nerdy talk show. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. If you come here to see me today, you came to meet the man of the hour. He's Gran Torino from My Hero Academia, Wakaba Mine from Fairy Tail, Fujitora from One Piece, just to name a few. He's an acclaimed actor with a legendary voice and a legendary beard. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one, the only, Charlie Campbell. Charlie, how are we doing today?
Hey, very good. How are you doing over there?
Dandy as candy. I will admit,
Where am I?
I went a little rogue on that one and a little unprepared in the fact that, I didn't have a backup plan if you shaved the beard.
Well, it's a little shorter than it was earlier. Typically, as long as possible in the winter. That way, when I go pump, none of the down my shirt hole, it keeps me warm. But yeah, it's my hair options right now.
There you go. Well, it's dandy as ever. Well, Charlie, we got a lot to talk about, so we'll go ahead and jump into it. The first being, Charlie, you've made tons of ripples in the industry. You're a household name at this point. But what I wanted to get to start us off, is how did we get here? Was showbiz always the plan, or did something happen later on in life that brought us to where we are today?
Gosh, I guess it all started with music. I've been recording multi-track since I was 13. And on cassette started out, But I got into recording, and then in college, a guy that was the first audio engineer in films way back in the day. And they were recording at that facility before they had started off doing audio engineering for Evangelion and Blue Seed and the older titles, and then just kind of worked my way until about 1998 when I moved to Austin and was helped running Monster Island Studios for years there. Moved from engineer to doing extras for the videos, and then I've always done voices, teachers' voices back in school, and I was good enough that they didn't know where it came from. And just having fun with things and not being afraid to just
Just gotta do everything, because you do a little bit of everything, which kind of makes me wonder, where is there time in the day to breathe?
Well, you make time. Otherwise, things get really slow.
You sleep when you're dead, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Plus, if you're having fun, it doesn't seem like study.
If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life?
That's it.
Well, speaking of characters, we obviously don't have enough time to delve all of the characters you voiced throughout the years, but there were three in particular that I wanted to touch on. The first one will be of no surprise to everyone, especially because this anime, it has been a hot minute, several hot minutes, in fact, since I have seen an anime become so widely popular and so widely regarded, and has attracted a whole slew of new anime fans. That anime, of course, is My Hero Academia, the main character of which being Deku. But Deku would be nothing if not for this man. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about the one and only Gran Torino. Now, to start us off, before we kind of delve deeper into him, give us a brief overview of the character, how you maybe got the part, any fun anecdotes involved, anything at all.
Gran Torino, I think, if memory serves, I was just called in to play it. I've done a lot of work with Funimation in the years, so they kind of know what my wheelhouse is. And they say, hey, we've got a great character for you. He's gonna, people are gonna love him. Let's go. So I'm like, so I showed up, and usually after I see a character, I kind of know what voice they should have, what voice. And he was he's kind of a right, kind of small, but packs a big punch,
For sure.
And I really loved the first few episodes where he came across as being really kind of like this confused old man, and then just at the snap of a finger, he was I think he was putting it on to see what the kid did, with the ketchup.
And then he was pivotal to kind of what Deku is now, which he's slowly, becoming, more familiar with his quirk and coming
right.
But I would argue that would be nothing if not Gran Torino.
Hey, he's a sensei, right?
Well, he certainly is. I mean, he certainly is that and much more. But, Deku has a myriad of mentors throughout the show that kind of, help him grow and strive towards his ultimate goal of being the number one hero. Did kind of playing such a role ever kind of inspire you in your everyday life?
Oh yeah, I mean, I draw from all kinds of things, for different roles, and for him, he was just like a rough teacher, and he's gonna do what needed to be done to get the kid whipped into shape, And in the meantime, he wanted some little fish cookies, to play.
Can't forget about those.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he did right by the kid, saw potential in him, and gave him a chance, and put him through his and the more he asked for, that had somebody that believed in him to help them through their trials and get them where they need to go, make him a full-fledged hero.
There you go. Well, and speaking of role models in popular animes, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, Fairy Tail. Now, Fairy Tail being a long history of being a very popular shonen anime. And granted, he may or may not often be portrayed as a comedic relief, but the next character I want to talk about is Strawn no less. I want to talk about the ever-lovable and, slightly mischievous Wakaba Mine. Now, kind of like we did with Gran Torino, before we delve too much deeper into Wakaba Mine, just give us a brief overview of the character, fun anecdotes involved, maybe how you got the part, anything at all.
Yeah, when I started, again, I got called in and see what he looked like. And after I saw him, I was like, oh, he's kind of a little wise guy, He's got these crazy, at the time he had this fur coat looking thing on, and the hair and everything. So being a rock guy back in the day, I kind of thought, who does he remind me of? Brian Jones was the guy who was with him at the beginning. He used to wear these crayfits,
I can see it.
And he was kind of a character. So I was like, okay. And then the director was like, let's hear a few things. And I looked at him and I go, so what you want, I've got the hair, I've got the cigarette, I'm like, how's that? Is that
You nailed it.
So we went with that. And it's funny because sometimes it's a while between particular characters. I'll play some other ones for a month or something, then come back. And at the beginning, they'd play a reference line to say, okay, which voice was it? And they go, I think the line was something, all right, Mira, want to go on a date? And I'm like, okay, yeah. He talks like this, so it's right. But I really like him. He's got a lot of humor. He's got he and his buddy are always cracked, and it's kind of like the crazy situations will happen, and he kind of says things that people wish they could just blurt out. He just so. Okay, it's like the two old guys, but they kind of throw a few things out there and feel like, yeah, he's right. You look forward to playing him. He's good.
He fits the archetype, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Because
that show was amazing. So many different characters and so much going on.
Oh God! And he's a deeply caring man. Despite some of his more boyish moments, but. Wakaba Mine as a character, he's easy to kind of relate to. So
right.
In his role, was there ever a time where you kind of began to relate to him on more of a personal level?
Oh, well, all the characters I relate to on some level. It helps you embody them to some degree. But sure, the times when he was kind of looking out for people, I'm like, hey, that's cool. That's something I would have done,
I'm with it.
Yeah, yeah. Deeply caring.
That's for sure. Well, we're kind of approaching the halfway point, guys. So plenty of you have already messaged Visioncon directly your viewers' comments and questions, or put in the live chat your viewers' comments and questions. You still have plenty of time to do so. I just wanted to reiterate that as an option for you if you have not already done so. But with that, we're going to go on to our final character that I want to kind of dissect a bit before we move on. And that, of course, is, fans of anime have at least heard of this anime, if not full-fledged fans. That anime, of course, is One Piece, which recently began redubbing, or continuing the dubbing of the show. The show is at over 900 episodes in its sub, and so slowly but surely they're catching back up with the dub. And so I want to talk about one of my favorite Marines in the show that you have been cast to dub. I want to talk about the greatly powerful yet also friendly face Fujitora. So finally,
That's it.
like we've done 2 times already, how brief overview of the character, maybe fun anecdotes involved in getting the part, anything at all.
Yeah, the first thing I was about when I got the part was say, what's with the scar and everything? Why is he blind? Well, he didn't want to see any more bad things, like what happened to him. So he did that to himself, which I said, well, that's kind of hardcore. And then the collar, big part of him. It's this massive collar. I'm like, well, it keeps anybody from getting to us.
Yeah.
Any sword along the side there or anything. I like him because he's a huge presence, yet for the most part he's fair understated. He wields a power and he doesn't really have to let everybody know. He just kind of does it. And I think that's cooler sometimes than someone bragging all the time and then whatever it is they do. So, and he also has a rude, seems to have a moral compass. He tries not to involve any, people that shouldn't be part of it. He doesn't want a lot of casualties being the folks that it's kind of aimed at. So, and a lot of times, he even kind of gives the other people like a warning, like you really don't want to do this, or you might want to leave the area because something's about to happen. So, yeah, he's. I really like playing him. He's a little different than some of the characters I've played in the past, and sort of understated like that.
And that warning, hopefully, is not fallen on deaf ears, because if you just look at this picture right here, I mean, it's clearly not a man you want to mess with.
That's right. Yeah, he can make things kind of quake and shake and fly all over the place at pretty little effort, it seems.
All right. Well, and so One Piece is one of the most popular and long-running animes worldwide, with kind of an ever-expanding international audience. So when you learned that you were cast as one of the most powerful Marines on the show, was there ever a moment where you kind of felt pressure to perform well?
Honestly, no. Everything I do, I try to just do the best I can, and I kind of approach it as if this guy is just a bartender somewhere, he's going to be a cool bartender. I just kind of went with the director's looking for, and then we just ran with it, and there's no pressure and fun. I mean, hopefully people like it, and if you're doing a good job and people feedback, then fantastic. But no.
Yeah. Well, the next thing I want to do, it's a little different than what we usually do here on the show, guys, because you not only voice anime characters, you also are dub director, you also voice video game characters, and a slew of other things. But primarily, I wanted to contrast the difference between anime voice acting versus video game voice acting, because there is a fair amount of difference involved with it.
Oh, yeah. So, there's a huge.
So to start us off, just give us some base contrast between the two.
Well, in video games, you only see the character. You never get to see it in action because it's all animated afterwards in the video. And there's a little more direction that has to on the front end, just so because you don't get to see any real physicality or anything. And also, it's typically lots of short phrases or commands. You click on your guy and he goes, or something, that's you just say that and go to the game. In fact, it's kind of funny because some of the games like DC Universe Online, where I played Kilowog, I'm like, oh, I'd really like to see how that turned out. And I get the game and play it and try to find him. What I do is go on YouTube and find people who've recorded themselves playing, and you can hear your voice like, oh, that's kind of how he turned out. But some are harder to do. Usually I get the larger characters that are, and they might pitch me down a few octaves or gigantic, but a lot of growling and, or, heavy voices. Emir had a big voice, and so did Kill. Occasionally I get to play funny little wacky guys. Oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of that show. There was one that was kind of like this Prosh guy, and he was tough, and he was going after. Well, that's fun, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really different, and you can blow your voice out too, because if through all of these battle, expressions and shouts and stuff, usually the little while then we'll switch over to some lines. That way, you're not just yelling. But Borderline, I swear, man, I just about blew it. I walked in going, "Thanks for the part. That was a lot of fun." It was like this medic, the biggest part, just yelling all of the explode everything, and that was fun, you know.
So is there anything in specific that you do to avoid that? Because I mean, that is a genuine fear, I assume, of a voice actor or anyone whose vocation is largely, well, vocal. So is there anything you do to prevent that? Maybe things you do to
Yeah.
prepare or recover afterwards?
I mean, you can drink certain things. It helps some like tea with honey, something like that to kind of soothe your throat. You can try to do more diaphragm than from the vocal cord, you know. But certain characters, if you're just punk rocking it, that's how it's going to come out, you know. And then later on, a voice will usually recover, you know. In the meantime, I might track some vocals for some songs I've done, do a little Motorhead stuff, or do a phone answering machine message of, hey, you need to leave a message for Charlie, Use it to your. But luckily everything's not yelling all the time. I mean, if it was, you'd have to sort of probably come up with some more tricks and things if it was over multiple days. Use this just bits and pieces.
Sure.
It's not.
Well, before we go to the plug zone, I did want to ask you one more thing. Now, like I mentioned a little previously, you also are anime dub director. So I wanted to ask, did one preclude the other, or did you do basically voice acting and voice directing simultaneously? Or like I said, did one kind of preclude the other?
Yeah, I mean, I did some just incidental voices while I was an engineer, and then I started directing in Austin at Monster Island, and then I would do some voices, direct, do some videography for extras, some writing. I was recording and doing at the same time. I didn't have an engineer; it was me, and so it all kind of came. The funniest was one time there was a show where there's a whole construction crew, and I got to leveling the show for audio, levels and everything. And like, oh my gosh, we missed this scene. It wasn't a very long scene. It was like 8 guys. So I recorder on a pre-roll and ran to and from the booth and added the entire construction crew. Me. And it was kind of wore you out, but it was fun too, and challenging to try to come with a different voice, for some other guy that's off to the edge, and fun to put all together. But yeah, I always did voices when I was in actual anime voices second. Second. Then directing and producing. I did music for some trailers, some trailer narration. All that kind of just rolled in while we were. Austin was small, but lots of fun.
Sure. Well, I mean, I would have to say so.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, if you haven't already, plenty of you have already messaged Visioncon directly or put in the live chat your viewers' comments and questions. If you haven't already, you still have time to do so, but it's your last opportunity because, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the plug zone. Charlie Campbell, now is your opportunity to plug, promote, advertise, whatever verb you want to use, anything you want. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, I'll be at an Anime Lubbock convention coming up in June 11th and 13th in Lubbock, funnily enough. And then also, if you want to purchase any autographs, I have a huge library of DVD that I'm signing. You can go to my Facebook page, Director Man Charlie at Facebook, and just message me and know what you want and know what I've got. And you never know, there might be something cool that is got back in my archives I could send your way, or you can send me something too, just to let me know what's what.
And I've got all of those links plus extra ones in the live chat, guys, if you're watching this live on Facebook, or if you're watching this later on YouTube or listening to it later on Spotify, it's going to be down there in the description box below, guys. And with that, we're going right out of the plug zone and going right into our final segment, viewers' comments and questions. So real quick, I'm going to do it like I usually do, guys. I'm going to do 50% in the live chat and then 50% in the messenger. So let me bring it up real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so Charlotte tuned in and gave us the question that she always asks on each episode, which is, besides voice acting and directing, what are some of your favorite hobbies?
Oh man, I love music. I play guitar, bass, drums, and sing and do acting. I've been doing that since I was 13. Love live music, road trips, getting with friends. Used to go to movies. I don't know about now. Not too much on these days. But yeah, music is the biggest thing, really.
Okay, so Chris tuned in and said, hey, total forewarning, I'm probably going to butcher this, but hey, Charlie, what was it like voicing Toyoshisa Senguji in Psycho-Pass? Psycho-Pass is one of my favorite animes of all times. How close was I?
Oh my gosh. I remember that guy. There's been so many shows that I think he was kind of a crazy guy, and crazy guys are lots of fun, especially if he's the guy I'm thinking of, who's kind of quiet and brooding and creepy. That's fun. The bad guys always get the best way.
Oh, sure. And Chris, since you're watching right now, tell me if I nailed that name or not. But okay, so Sabrina tuned in and said, if you could pick your own quirk, what would it be? So for people who aren't fans or aren't caught up with My Hero Academia yet, quirks mean superpowers in the show. So she's essentially asking what would your superpower be?
I think it'd be to see the truth in whatever somebody was doing or saying, like see right through and right to know exactly what's going on.
Sure. Okay.
That'd be useful.
Oh yeah, for more than one thing. Oh, and Chris,
but I wouldn't want to have a rope.
Sure.
Like when I would.
Well,
with a rope.
Chris tuned in and tuned back in and said close enough, so I feel like I nailed it. All right. John tuned in and said, what were some of your favorite dubs that you've directed?
Blade of the Phantom Master was probably one of my all-time favorites. It's like Max meets you can throw at it. It's just like, I really liked the Guyver Bioboosted Armor series. That had a great cast. Mazen Kaiser was really fun. The Samurai X OVAs were quite a trip. Just beautiful animation, beautiful music, good stories. Kind of always tended toward the more action-oriented shows, and then of course Gotcha Man. That was just of absolute just nonstop. The cat. Check out Thunders too. That was really, really good and fun. Had a lot of humor and great action, based on a video game I never got to play. They say it was.
All right, well, we got time for two more. The first one being from Sheila, who said, in your opinion, what do you prefer doing more, anime voice acting or video game voice acting?
I mean, I really like both, but the anime is more rewarding immediately because you get to see your character in action right after you record the voice for each line or each paragraph. So that's probably more fun to do. Video game stuff is really cool too. It's just kind of a different thing, and like some shots online of people playing the game, and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of fun. So they're both fun, just in their own way. But I guess anime is more immediately rewarding.
All right, and then finally, Ryan tuned in and said, what are some of the characters that you've voiced throughout the years that you wish had more of a spotlight?
Oh man, let's see. He had an okay spotlight, but Dr. Hamilcar Barkus in Guyver was really, really fun. Massive guy with he was a bad guy. Talks like, and we picked him down too, and he was huge, and really, really evil, and he was fun. He could probably go, I think. And then, he's one of my favorites, really. mean, Leader X and Gotcha Man had a pretty big part, but it would have been nice to have seen what the rest of his body looked like besides just the head on the screen. Does he ever leave his computer monitor? Sit there all day waiting to, bird cuts it. Yeah, I mean, I guess all had their own, time spotlight. I guess Marcus would be the one I'd immediately go to.
That's a good one. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 63 of Visioncon Live. Before we wrap things up, Charlie Campbell, any final thoughts to leave us on? Sage-like wisdom, anything at all?
Anyone's a hero, kids. You just gotta heart, watch out for other people's hearts, and do the right thing.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 63 of Visioncon Live. Thank you guys so much for watching. I, of course, am your host, Zach Wilson, but much more importantly, this has been my very special guest, Charlie Campbell. Make sure to check out all the links down in the description box below. And until next time, guys, always remember that life's better when you have friends to share it with.